Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there is a better way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event. And right now, get $20 off your first purchase. Just download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code WINGO today.
Welcome in. Glad you're with us on this Thursday. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. As always, presented by Progressive Insurance. Phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. That's our wheelhouse right there.
That is, and I wonder if Cliff had any mentioning the dog in Christmas is my sweatshirt that has the dog, the Doge, on there with the Christmas hat.
Yeah, for those
was in line.
For those watching on ESPN2 or listening on the radio, he's wearing a blue Christmas sweatshirt with a picture of the dog that says "Much merry wow, nice such cheer."
There you go.
Is there any specific reasoning or rationale?
Just the way the Doge talks.
Okay,
the dog, the Doge. That's the way he talks. Tomorrow, I have another Christmas sweater. I have yours as well.
I'm excited about that.
Just to give you a little tease as to the kind of sweater that you're going to wear.
Yeah.
I can't give it to you yet because it needs 3 AA batteries.
Oh, my. So I will be the caffeine for everybody else,
yes, you will.
I will need the caffeine to actually put on that sweater.
will be the beacon in the night. Is what you will be.
I'll be a beacon of something.
Yes, you will.
For sure. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, I think you're going to look forward to this much more than I am.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
But you know what? We play the game.
Yes, we do.
And we play the game, and I will wear that sweater.
Yes, you will.
I will wear that sweater with pride.
Yes, you will. A lot going on, isn't there? I mean, it
never seems to slow down.
We are so hardcore, like into the football season with 2 weeks to go and then the playoffs starting. But man, there's just a ton going on, from baseball trades to baseball in the news, with obviously the Rob Manfred, the commissioner, and Dan Batard interview yesterday, which we'll get into.
That went as expected.
Yeah, to obviously the NBA and the great stories there, now even falling off into again, high school seniors. Will they have could they have a different place to play? I mean, there's just a lot going on. And all that time, you got to finish your Christmas shop.
Absolutely. Got a couple days left. What is it? We're in 21st? So
today,
we're 4 days away.
Yeah, and we will be getting the birthday song ready today as well, because I have a special birthday wish for a certain someone in my life.
Okay.
Yes.
See, I walk in here and learn new things every day.
There you go.
I did not know that was on the agenda today.
Yes.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm a little bit happy and a little bit scared at the same time.
Don't be scared. It's cool. You'll like it. I can retell the story again of just how close this person and I actually are, and it could have been right from the beginning how close we were.
All right.
So I'll leave it at that. It was like a tease.
A little tease there.
Yeah.
Little radio. What are they talking about?
There you go.
By the way, again, Junior's not here because tonight is his big bowl game.
His bowl
right?
game. Let me get the name of it.
I think it's the Bad Boys More Gasparilla Bowl. Isn't that it?
I think that might be it.
Yeah.
He took a picture of it. Is that what it is, Riley? Okay, good. He took a picture of himself on a huge riding lawnmower, and I know he tweeted that out. That was the one where the two teams, I think the kid from FIU won the lawnmower obstacle course riding contest to kind of win it for his team.
Taking on Temple.
Yeah, pretty. That's the fun of those bowl games when you have the eating contest, or I would have enjoyed that. Riding one of those really big-time landscaping lawnmowers.
Those are like not for your average lawn.
No, they are
not. They
not.
have the two handles and all that kind of stuff. They went through
an obstacle
track
course.
that has bales of hay.
There you go.
Bales of hay.
Bales
always
of
messes
hay.
me up. I don't know why.
It does. Well, I know you do a lot of bale and hay talking.
Oh, yeah. That's me.
How you were raised.
Getting that pitchfork and going out there and finding our supper and making sure the farm is fed. That's right up my alley.
Attaboy.
Now, actually, obviously you love the food thing, but I'm now actually wondering if you had your choice, wing eating contest or riding one of those lawnmowers, what would you have preferred?
It looked really cool to ride that lawnmower.
It
really did. I think I would have enjoyed that a lot because here's the deal. Let's be honest. I mean, I could go into any restaurant at any time and have my own private wing eating contest if I really wanted to. So I would probably do the lawnmower because I can't just, when I'm driving down the street, see a landscaper, taking care of someone's lawn and say, hey, can I jump on this lawnmower for a little while?
I'll do that for you. Do you mind?
Yeah, you mind if I do? Yeah, exactly. So I'd probably do that because that sounds it looked like it was a lot of fun. And the dude that won from FIU looked like he had been on one before.
It was not his first rodeo.
No, it was not.
I think we can say that with great certainty. If you hadn't seen it, I'm sure you could find it somewhere, but it was pretty impressive. But again, that's where Junior is.
He is, and that game tonight is on ESPN, 8 o'clock Eastern, if you want to check it out. It is FIU against Temple.
Well, again, this is my favorite part of bowl season.
Yeah.
People have favorite parts of bowl seasons for different reasons. Mine is some of the names that the bowls are. And I think this one might be the winner this year.
The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
Right, that's pretty good.
Right, following up the Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl.
The Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl is way up there.
And last night, I believe, there was a bowl game last night. It was a DXL Frisco Bowl.
Frisco Bowl.
Was SMU and Louisiana Tech.
Although one of my all-time favorites, and will always be hard to top this one, will be the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
But you know what? That's a pretty good one. That was always, as far as announcing teams are concerned, that was the one you wanted. Yeah. Everybody's wondering who, when I was doing college games, that's kind of what you waited to when it got to bowl season. Yeah. What games were you given? Because you'd usually be given a few games. That was one of the, it wasn't, if you'd wait to see if you got a big game. Yeah. Really one of the big games before all the playoffs and stuff, the sugar, the orange, that kind of thing. Cotton, but that bowl was a monster bowl to get because it was in San Diego. Much like, is the bowl game still in the Bahamas?
Well, there's the Bahama Bowl. There's the Hawaii Bowl.
The Bahama Bowl is December 22nd. I mean, I would love to call that one. Love it.
That's tomorrow night, I think.
Yes, it is.
I think Steve Levy is calling that game for
Lucky
a third straight
Steve
year.
Levy.
Yeah, the Bahamas Bowl is pretty good.
Yeah, it's Ohio against UAB, but you're right, the Hawaii Bowl, of which I played in my senior year.
Did you really?
And my son Mike, his freshman year, the year he redshirted, or they don't use that at Notre Dame, the year he didn't play and then had an extra year, however you want to say it.
Yeah. Whatever jargon you want to use to describe what just happened.
They played in that bowl as well. It's a nice trip, obviously. It's a great trip.
Let me just say, as someone who frequents the islands
yes,
every
you
year,
do.
Yes, I will agree with you. That is that would be my favorite bowl to go to if I had to pick. But again, for titles, while I am partial to the Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Juice Boca Raton Bowl, the way the Bad Boy Moore Gasparilla Bowl just rolls off the tongue
that may be the winner.
Is pretty
there
solid.
You go. Check it out.
So now that we've successfully done that for 7.5 minutes,
absolutely,
let us begin the show in reality with.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not,
it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, and we start off the top with baseball news because, of course,
yes,
the Rays have traded third baseman Evan Longoria to the Giants in a 5-player deal. Tampa Bay will receive veteran outfielder Denard Span, some infield prospects, and minor league pitchers. Longoria, by the way, at 32, had spent his entire 10-year career with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for this trade, look at third base for San Francisco. Last year, that position hit 216, 9 home runs, 51 RBIs, and Longoria last year hit 261, 20 home runs, and 86 RBIs. So they're looking to improve on that position. But, he is a guy that is synonymous with Tampa Bay. There his entire career, and now, going to the other coast. I mean, that's baseball. I get it with trades, but boy, when someone's been around with one team and gets associated with that team for so long, and you got to remember, some people do forget there are families involved in this. It's not just the player. Oh, he's going to another city. There's family. There's schools. He's 32. I don't know, if he has kids or how old they are or anything. But for those that are, there are other, obviously situations involved in this.
Absolutely. And look, he's been a very solid player for a long time. He helped them to the 2008 World Series, which they lost to the Phillies. But it certainly fills a need, as you alluded to, in San Francisco, because they were not good at the third base position at all. But it got us to thinking a little bit about, Evan Longoria, whether, the Rays are not a huge national team that we talk about a lot, but he was a fixture on that team. And, what are the fixtures that are still left on one team that you can, that guy, well, he's definitely associated with that team.
Yeah, you said Evan Longoria, you said, Tampa Bay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so there are certainly more than a few players out there, but what player do you associate with a team?
Synonymous with a franchise.
Obviously, an easy one is Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. So when you say a player, what team, and the interesting part then gets, if they split their career somewhere else and had a really good career at another place as opposed to the first place, where would you associate them with?
That would be Adam Vinatieri, obviously.
There you go.
The first one you think of, the kicker with the Patriots, and now a bit longer with the Colts. But we'll put that out there on Golic and Wingo. What players do you think are synonymous with a franchise? Obviously, Kobe was for many years, and he just had his jerseys retired. I guess Dirk Nowitzki would also fit into that category.
Tim
Duncan. Ben Roethlisberger with the Steelers. So put it out there on Golic and Wingo, and we'd love to hear what you think about this. Players that are synonymous with a certain franchise will have those throughout the show. All right, we continue.
Off the top.
Georgia's in the college football playoffs and also continuing to do well. Georgia ended day one of the early signing period with the top-ranked recruiting class as the Bulldogs signed 7 of the top 30 recruits in the ESPN 300.
Yeah, pretty impressive. They signed the number 1 overall recruit. This will get interesting to me. So they signed the number 1 overall recruit, quarterback Justin Fields. It's a dual-threat quarterback. It's the first time in the ESPN 300 era that Georgia has signed the number 1 overall player. You know, back in 2006, they signed Stafford. He was the 5th overall. And Aaron Murray in 2009 was the 13th. And in 2000, this is what's interesting. In 2016, Jacob Eason was the 13th overall. They got him at Georgia. He got hurt. The freshman Jake Fromm is the starter now for Georgia. Oh, by the way, as I said, a freshman, a true freshman, and they just signed the top player in the country who was a quarterback at Georgia. They all ain't staying at Georgia. Let me just say that right now.
No way, no chance.
Some are going to be leaving in this one. So they did well. Texas did well. They had not done very well in the ESPN 300 era, but what helped them this time around is they got some in-state players, which is certainly going to help them. Clemson finished the day with the 5th-ranked class, but it includes 3 of the top 5 overall players. So, again, it's the first time they have the early signing date. It was yesterday to Friday, and then again, the normal signing date will be the first Wednesday in February. And, you know, listen, the high school rating can be a crapshoot.
That's kind of where I was going.
It can be. A quick story for me, when I came out of high school, I was a high school All-American on the one magazine that had the All-Americans on it. I was on the cover with Sean Salisbury.
Yep. With our buddy here.
Jack Del Rio,
now coaching the Raiders.
Bill Fralick, who I ended up playing against all the time when he went to
Pittsburgh.
Pitt, and then we played against each other in the pros, and a running back named Aaron Roberts. And we were all on that cover, all Americans. And here's how it works sometimes. I was a tight end and a linebacker in high school.
Right.
I was rated the top defensive lineman in the country.
Having never played the position.
I had never played the position in my life, and I was ranked the top D lineman. So maybe they were projecting me as a D lineman. I played D line 1 year at Notre Dame my freshman year, and then I became a linebacker there. So that was somewhat interesting.
Here's the point. Look, it's a cottage industry.
It absolutely
has been for a long time, and it serves us very well, as Tom Luganbill does great things for us, and there's a lot of that on ESPNU. But just understand what it is and what it isn't. Okay, I mean, the first round of the NFL draft is about a 50% hit or miss ratio. So that's with guys that have played college for 4 years, sometimes maybe other times a year less or so. But these are 20, 21, 22-year-olds that we're trying to project. These are 17,
18-year-olds,
and maybe 18-year-olds trying to get their first taste of freedom for a long time away from their houses. The idea that we're going to figure out exactly where all these players are going –
it's pretty wild.
Just understand what it is and what it isn't.
The rating system, too, I have some stories about. Boy, the rating is a lot of times based on if you went to these certain camps that are sponsored by certain places that can help your rating or hurt your rating. It's wild. But you know what? People live and die with it, man. It is a monster thing.
They certainly do, and we'll see what happens with Georgia and how many of those players, as you just said, will actually be there for the long haul. We continue.
Off the top.
All right, how about the Lakers snapping the Rockets' 14-game winning streak, the third longest single-season win streak snapped by a Los Angeles in team history, according to the Elias Bureau. In the loss, though, James Harden did score 51.
Yeah, he certainly did. 51. It's his 7th career 50-point game. He's the first player with 50 points against the Lakers since Allen Iverson in December 5th, 2007 to score that many and to lose. The most was back in 1968. Earl Monroe scored 56 against them and lost. Michael Jordan in 92, 54 against them and lost. Chris Paul, and we'll keep an eye on this, left early in the fourth quarter for the Rockets with a strained left abductor. And he did not return. Paul's the first player in the 4 major sports to start and win each of his first 15 games with a new team since Randy Moss.
Wow.
Since Randy Moss won his first 18 game with the Patriots in that 2007-2008 season for New England. So we keep an eye on that one because he has been serious money for the Rockets at this point. But great job by the Lakers. Kyle Kuzma is, everybody talks about Lonzo Ball, the rookie, and he's getting obviously the lion's share of press, and he does a good job with rebounds and assists, working on the scoring. Kyle Kuzma leads the Lakers in scoring, put up 38 last night, the rookie out of Utah.
Yeah, had 7 3-pointers. The Ute is getting it done, which would make him our player with style, brought to you by JCPenney. Take the JCPenney Holiday Challenge and find surprising gifts at surprising prices. Get everything on your list for less than you think, JCPenney. We continue.
Off the top.
How about the Bulls? Beating the Magic 112-94 last night to extend their Eastern Conference best 7-game winning streak. The Bulls started the season as an NBA worst 3-20, but haven't lost since Nikola Mirotic returned from those facial fractures suffered in that preseason fight with a teammate, Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis, remember that? Yeah. Bobby Portis basically broke his face.
Yes.
And so Mirotic is now back, and they haven't lost since he's been back. 7 straight win. They're now 10-20. They're still obviously a bad team record-wise, but they are on a 7-0 run, led by the dude that had his face kind of broken by Bobby Portis. So we'll keep an eye on them. I don't think a lot of people expect a whole lot from them this year, but hey, got to feel good for that dude. I mean, all of a sudden he's laying there with his face broken, and now he's back playing, and the team's doing well.
Look, he's averaging 19.5 points on 52% shooting, 49% from threes, and also 7.7 boards per game. Bulls try to make it 8 straight tonight against LeBron James and the Cavs in Cleveland. We'll see how that shakes out. And we finish up.
Off the top.
Wendy Nix is very happy this morning.
Oh, to be a Terrier.
Oh, the Wofford Terriers went into Chapel Hill yesterday and stunned the number 5 North Carolina Tar Heels and the defending champs in college basketball, 79-75.
Yeah, and here's the fun of, first, from the college basketball side, Duke played Evansville last night. So, and North Carolina played Wofford. They both entered the game with about anywhere between a little over a 96% chance of winning. Both teams, almost the exact same winning percent chance. Duke, they beat Evansville by 64.
Yeah.
By 64.
So it was a close game.
And obviously North Carolina lost to Wofford by 4. Here's the beauty. If you're into that whole betting thing and the parlay and stuff like that, which I don't know enough about, but if you were to, there were a couple of three heavy favorites. North Carolina was a 25.5-point favorite. The Rockets were a 15-point favorite over the Lakers. We just told you what happened there. And the Celtics, by the way, were a 9-point favorite over the Heat. And the Heat won that game by 1. If you bet $100 on North Carolina, the Rockets, and the Celtics all to lose Wednesday, a 3-team parlay would have paid you $153,000.
See, why are you telling me this the day after?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me this yesterday? I could have put down $1.
One of the reasons I'd rather go back in time than forward in time.
See, you're with me now.
See?
You were sort of before, I don't know, I want to see the future.
Yeah.
Now you get it.
Because that $100 parlay would have been a $1,000 parlay if you can do that.
There you go.
Enough to save you
See?
Yeah.
See? So that's what, knowledge is key.
There you go.
Knowledge is good, as Emil Faber said.
I knew that when I was in school.
Exactly, a Faber College and Animal House. All right, and that was Off the Top. And we talked a little bit of baseball there to start Off the Top, but there was obviously a lot of baseball talk yesterday on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. As we promised and sort of promoted the interview yesterday, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred was on with Dan and Stu talking about the Marlins and what's gone on there since Derek Jeter and the ownership group took over, and it's become a fire sale. D. Gordon gone, Ozuna gone, and, of course, Giancarlo Stanton gone as well. And obviously the folks in South Florida, and Dan, who's a lifelong South Florida resident, very upset having to see this happen a third time with his Marlins team. And Le Batard asked Manfred if he knew of Jeter's plan to basically cut the roster and cut salary.
We do not get involved in operating level decisions in the ownership process, the ownership approval process. Clubs make those local decisions.
Rob, were you aware of his plan, though? Were you aware of it?
No. We did not have player-specific plans from the Miami Marlins or any other team
we
approve in the ownership process. Those are decisions that the individual owners make.
So, that's where it was, the thought that Rob Manfred was lying, that he knew what this new ownership group was going to do.
And to be fair, Dan at one point said, so we're starting off with a lie, which obviously Rob Manfred took great umbrage to, said, I will not have you call me a liar and have myself deposed here. But that became the crux of the issue.
It did, and we have a lot more to get into. I'll just end this segment on this, is when you look at it, it's about how you parse it, isn't it?
Correct.
So what's if they were told, hey, if every ownership group that interviewed to buy the Marlins came in with a plan, and we're going to try and find this out. We're trying to get a hold of a buster to find out a little more about some of the other players that were involved in this. By players, I mean ownership groups. If their plans were to cut payroll, there's a difference, because you heard Rob Manfred's answer. There were no player-specific details given, but it sounds like they were told, baseball was told, we're going to cut salary. And so if we're going to cut salary to like $85 to $90 million, should then baseball assume, or do you want to know more? Should you know more about players involved? How far should it go with what baseball knows of what a team is going to do? Hey, we're going to cut salary. Right. Okay, you're going to cut salary. Should you have more specifics? That certainly seemed to be where the tipping point was with the two of them.
Well, to that point, there's legal parsing, I think, in a lot of these statements.
Yes.
I can remember once when I was filling in for you on this show, and we had then Commissioner David Stern on talking about the move to Oklahoma City for the Sonics, and he said we've had no conversations. Well, emails came up,
right?
And I said to David at the time, David, you're a lawyer, I understand that, and there's legal parsing here, but from looking at these emails, for anyone looking at these emails talking about the move, that certainly would qualify as a conversation. Right. And David's response was, well, that's your take on it. So there's always lines you try and make sure you do not cross. And by the way, after that came on the Dan Le Batard show from Ron Manfred, some other things came to light that maybe counteracted on some level what he was trying to put out there. We'll have that.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The contentious interview between Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred and our friend Dan Le Batard on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz on ESPN Radio. And Dan asked him point blank, were you aware of the plan that Derek Jeter had to basically cut salary and dump players to try and get the Marlins back to profitability? Mm-hmm. And Rob Manfred rightfully said, we don't go into player-by-player specifics. So, again, but those words, I think, are said in that way for a reason. Because, yes, they might not say to the ownership groups that are presenting themselves to try and take over the Marlins, hey, we're going to cut this player, and this player. However, that is not the same as telling the Major League Baseball Commissioner's Office, we need to cut salary. Those things can both be true.
Yes.
And they are sort of the same thing, just said in a different way. And Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald was on Izzy in Spain on ESPN Radio last night and alluded to that.
He was totally aware of it, and I think he was disingenuous in his interview with Dan Le Batard. Now, you could parse words and say that Manfred was correct in saying he did not know that the Marlins specifically would trade Stanton, Gordon, and Ozuna. But for him to suggest that he was unaware that there would be significant payroll slashing is simply not accurate. In order for Jeter and his business partner, Bruce Sherman, to get the team, they prepared this document, which was called the Project Wolverine, for reasons unknown. And this document was circulated to potential investors, several of whom ended up investing. And it specifically said that under his plan, payroll would be cut from $115 million last season to $90 million this year.
By the way, Project Wolverine makes sense because Derek Jeter from Kalamazoo, Michigan, obviously the Michigan Wolverines.
So what did the way Rob Manfred made it sound like they knew they were going to cut payroll, but not the X's and O's of how they were going to cut payroll. Am I getting that right?
If you're reading between what Manfred said and what Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald is reporting with that Project Wolverine, yes. Because, again, every ownership group presented a plan,
right,
from what we understand,
right,
to the commissioner's office, and which sort of included the idea of we're going to have to get rid of payroll. But what Rob says, we don't know what they're going to do with specific players, and
exactly.
we don't get into that.
So basically, is that like saying the same thing? I mean, we're going to cut payroll down to 85 to 90 million. So you're going to cut players. You're going to not cut players. You're going to get rid of players to reduce salary.
Right.
But they don't get into specifics of who they're going to trade
and how that's going to go.
See, with this whole thing, I mean, I get why South Florida may be mad, though. Show up to some games, I guess. I mean, it hasn't been a good team. I get it, but there have been other not good teams where fans have showed up more. I mean, they haven't been in the last 5 years any higher than 27th on the attendance. Correct.
And 3 of the last 5, they've ranked among the bottom 3 in total attendance.
And listen, I'm not going to sit there and jump that much on fans for not going. If you don't like your product, you don't have to go. That is your way of telling ownership, we don't like the product we're seeing, so we're not going. And that's why I said fans control this whole thing anyway. So you're not going. I get it. So there's a couple things here to me, Trey, is you get new ownership group. Are they on the hook for the sins of the past ownership groups?
No, I don't think so. But the point is, the fans don't care about that.
Okay.
All they know is that we've done this before. We saw it in '97 where we had a World Series team and it was dismantled, and then we built it back up again behind Dontrell Willis and other players in 2003. They beat the mighty Yankees at the apex of their buying every player and having the evil empire. They did that, and it happened again.
Right.
And then they've gone down, and then they got rid of Miguel Cabrera. But they got Giancarlo Stanton, and they got rid of basically Miguel Cabrera, the sequel. You're right. This ownership group should not be held accountable for what happened in '97 and 2003, but that doesn't mean it just doesn't stink for those
listen,
fans.
I get it. I get that it stinks. I'm trying. Listen, we're from, 30,000 feet up looking at this. We're not down in South Beach. We're not going through all that. But I'm looking at this from the fiscal side and the business side. So now you look to buy the Marlins. And you got to have a business plan.
Yep.
So you don't make the Marlin fans mad. Are you going to say, well, scrap what we think will work? Let's just keep the money there, spend more money, and try and win it right now, when we think fiscally the thing to do is to backtrack on this and try and build over, because while those other groups failed, we believe we can get it done right. It's just like the Browns. The Browns have gone administration after administration in failure, but one new ownership, you can't put the last ownership on them. You have to give them a chance to implement their plans, right?
The obvious difference there is that there's actually been winning with the Marlins as opposed to the Browns.
There's been winning
just become
and then
a morass.
Winning and then selling off.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making my point well here about, because what I'm trying to find out is the other ownership groups that were looking to buy the Marlins. I would love to know, and that's what we're trying to find out. What were their plans? Do you think any of those plans, any of the ownership groups that were trying to buy the Marlins, said we're going to increase payroll, we're going to keep all this money here,
I would doubt it.
We're going to spend more? I would doubt it as well, but that's what I'm trying to find out.
But that doesn't make it any less crappy for the fans that have gone through this twice before.
As I said, these are two separate things. I get the fans being mad, but if you're spending $1.2 billion to buy something, you get to fiscally run it how you feel you need to run it, don't you?
Absolutely, but again, fan is short for fanatic, which means they're not coming at this from
I get that.
It's a completely biased, passionate opinion. It's a completely biased and passionate place in which you're dealing with this. And the other problem is, when the Marlins were born in their first season in 1993, that year they had over 3 million in attendance.
They did. And what happened
the Yankees
next year?
Only had 2.4.
And what happened the next year? Unfortunately for them, the strike, the baseball strike, which took people away, and then they win it all in '97, then again in 2003, and dismantle it. But it's cyclical, and I thought, Rob Manfred's answer to one of Lebatard's questions and talking about that, saying, wait a minute, what they're trying to do, this has been done before and it's been successful.
And here is Rob Manfred sort of alluding to what you're talking about right now.
In 2012, San Francisco and Detroit were in the World Series. They're going to pick 1-2 in the draft this year. In 2013, based on 2012 results, The teams that were 1 through 5 in the draft, Houston, the Cubs, Colorado, Minnesota, and Cleveland, were all in the playoffs this year. The strategy that apparently the Marlins have adopted is one that is tried and true in baseball.
And that is true. However, it still doesn't ease the pain.
Agreed.
I mean, but these things, it's like they're separate things, and we're trying to find a way to get them to come together.
So I guess that's exactly right. So what's the answer? How do you, the way you don't make those people mad is to keep Stanton, keep the money, spend more money, and try and win. But did any ownership want to do that? Is that fiscally the way any ownership would have approached the Marlins? Anybody who has the amount of money, who owns businesses, wanted to get into this business and looked at something from the fiscal side of it, which is exactly what you need to do
as a business.
What would make the most sense for this team? They feel they can tear it down and bring it back up. Now, Marlin fans have heard that song and dance before, and it hasn't worked. But it's new ownership now. They think they can do it, but they're being kind of held accountable for the last sins as well. And I understand it from the fans' point of view. And at the end of all of this, the fans get the vote, right?
Yep.
Don't go. If they don't go to the games, that's going to send the message. And they haven't been going. So, and that's absolutely their right to do it. So you're right. It is two opposite sides. One group that says, here we go again, same old, and another group who said, you know what, we think this will work, but we got to take a couple steps back before we build to the future, and especially we feel building through our farm system.
It's just like, the old Charlie Brown cartoon where I'm going to kick the football now, Lucy, and you're going to hold it, right? And every time it feels like as they're getting ready to go through this, the ball gets kicked away from them then.
I do. I feel bad for them, but I don't know, was there another answer from another one of these ownership groups?
Well, we'd love to know that, but I don't think we might not ever find that out.
We may not.
We're not privy, and we're not sure if that information will ever be disclosed. One thing we can say, we understand the angst and the anger we get that, and it's rightfully deserved for them to feel the way they do. But I think what Rob's point there did make sense. We've seen this work out before. And remember, on June 25th of 2014, George Springer was on the Sports Illustrated cover, the Astros player, who said the Astros will win the 2017 World Series. That year, in 2014, the Astros finished second to last in the American League West, and they were 22 games under 500, and lo and behold, in an epic 7-game World Series, they were the World Series champions, and George Springer was a big part of that. So to what Manfred said, yes, it can work. I think the Marlins fans are just tired of the Lasler rinse repeat.
I would agree with them.
They all say
I can understand that.
The saying is third time's the charm. Third time definitely not the charm.
It's
for
not.
the Marlins and their fan base right now.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
We roll on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And, you never want to have a late season injury in the NFL, especially for a team that has not only playoff aspirations, but potentially Super Bowl aspirations. And one of the most balanced teams in football, one of 3 teams in the NFL that is in the top 10, both offense and defense, is now dealing with that right now. And it's something that sort of happened and sort of gone under the radar, but it could have a massive impact. People aren't talking about it a lot because it's a kicker. But this kicker's name is Greg the Leg.
Yes, it is.
Greg Zuerlein was on pace to set a scoring record for kickers this season for the Rams, placed on injured reserve a little more than 2 weeks before the start of the playoffs. He's going to have surgery this morning to repair a herniated disc, a procedure that typically comes with a 12-week recovery period. Look, the Rams have been one of the feel-good stories,
they have,
Mike, in the NFL, what Sean McVay has been able to do, turn around that offense and get things going with Jared Goff. And as well as Goff has played, and as well as Todd Gurley has played, listen, when they couldn't get into the end zone, Greg Zuerlein's range made them an unbelievable scoring machine because he could kick it through from anywhere.
You guys got to understand, he had made 38 of 40 field goals this year.
Crazy.
38 of 40. His one miss was in the 30 to 39 range. His other miss, he has made 6 of 7 from over 50 yards. His long this year is 56 yards. So You get to a certain point on the field and you don't turn it over, you basically get an automatic 3.
Yeah.
And that's gone now. That's gone for this team. That is devastating. And you're right, is not talked about enough for a team that's been such a great surprise this year. And, they haven't been here in a while, certainly with these players. And when you lose any of those weapons, the fact that, okay, we may not get 7 here, but we can get 3, and that can add up for you. You'd always like the 7, but when you can knock the 3 in from the distance that he can, that is huge for you. That is a big, big loss.
Well, we talk about a security blanket for a quarterback is a good tight end, right? If all else fails, there's the unbelievably greatest tight end, arguably, of all time, in Rob Gronkowski. Mm-hmm. And then there's a tight end, a Greg Olsen, a Kyle Rudolph, guys that hey, or Zach Ertz, my gosh, this year for the Philadelphia Eagles. If push comes to shove, we can find a way. We can find a way to keep the chains moving and keep this drive going. In many ways, Zuerlein was the security blanket for that offense.
Without a doubt. He was named to his first Pro Bowl just this past Tuesday, without question. Was leading the NFL with 158 points, on pace for to top the 166 put up by David Akers back in 2011. So what did the Rams do yesterday? They brought in 10 kickers early Wednesday to work out, and they signed former Penn State kicker Sam Ficken is who they signed. So you go from Greg Zuerlein, this dude's going to set a scoring record, and he's money from distance. That is a shame. That will not get talked about enough.
No, and look, here's the other thing, okay? Just so people understand, if they didn't do anything but have Greg Zuerlein make kicks against Seattle, they still would have won. He had 10 points.
Yeah.
He himself outscored Seattle 10-7 in that win up in Seattle. And we don't, because it's a kicker, I just go make the kick. Well,
right.
Look at what Chris Boswell has meant to the Steelers. They'd won 3 straight games with him kicking a field goal at the end of the game to keep them a 1 game ahead of the Patriots going into that showdown last Sunday, which obviously the Patriots found a way to win, and the Steelers found a way to not kick a field goal to tie it and send it into overtime. But I'm wondering how much a fan base thinks about that. That's another thing. We'll put it out there on the Twitter feed, Golick and Wingo. No Greg Zuerlein. How concerned now are you about the Rams and their Super Bowl chances? Because you see all the bright, shiny objects, right? You see Jared Goff, you see Robert Woods and Sammy Watkins, and you see Todd Gurley. At the end of the day, what Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle, has meant to that Rams team is important as anything else, as has Greg Zuerlein, because, as you said, when push comes to shove, if we can't get to where we want to go, at least we know we're getting something, and that has now gone from a prolific scoring team in the NFL.
And you mentioned Boswell. He's the AFC kicker, Pro Bowl, that made the Pro Bowl this year. So 2 big-time kickers, and one team loses that. So that's way bigger than some people, I think, are going to talk about, because how many times during the season do we see kickers let go, another kicker brought in, who's hot right now, who's not? Zuerlein has been consistently excellent kicker.
Yeah.
And now that's gone. That's gone out of the offensive weapons for them.
As for Ficken, he went undrafted in 2015, spent time with the Jags and the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's never kicked a regular season kick in an NFL game.
Oh, boy.
Coming up, the end of an era, possible retribution, and a new alternative to the one-and-done rule. Stay with us.